So, children and breaking down child and young person out of school or education, not receiving a full-time education case law. So this is talking about children who aren't receiving an education as they should be. So our verse is Sussex County Council XP Tarda in RT Manor. 1998, the local authority has an absolute duty to provide suitable, that's important as well, suitable education for any child of compulsory school age who is out of school because of illness, exclusion, or any other reason. So you'll see here, illness and exclusion are not just the reasons. Any other reason why a child is out of school and is unable to attend, they should be provided with suitable education if they're compulsory school age. When deciding what education is appropriate, the local authority cannot rely on its own financial limitations. So they cannot say, this costs too much, therefore we're only going to provide this. They have to be providing what is suitable and cannot put limitations on because of finances. So, GR on the application of v Westminster City Council 2004. So the question of whether a child can reasonably attend any existing suitable provision, such as the current school, or whether they require alternative education under Section 19 of the Section 19 of the Education Act 1996 must be assessed objectively, taking in all relevant circumstances into account. So they must look at the circumstances regarding all professionals that have put in any reports, the child's views, what the child's struggling with. They mustn't make a decision because what's easier or cheaper to them. They must be making decisions regarding the circumstances around why the child isn't able to attend school or whether a child can. So R versus Kent County Council 2007, when a child of compulsory school age is out of school, and this is not because they are being home educated or due to illness or exclusion, the local authority must provide alternative education if it is not reasonably possible for the child to access any existing suitable schooling. To determine this, the key question is whether the education offered by the local authority is objectively available, possible and accessible to the child. So this comes down to a child that's unable to attend school because they've got severe anxiety, they've not classed as illness or exclusion, the compulsory school age, but at that time what's on offer is not accessible or possible, or it's the wrong kind of placement. That would be what the local authorities should be taking into account at this stage. So Hertfordshire CC versus MCKC 2016. So whether a part-time table is discriminatory depends on whether it is a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. This requires the school to consider whether the disadvantages the child's experience as a result of the reduced timetable outweigh or are disproportionate to the aim the school is trying to achieve. In this case, the balance fell in favour of the school. The part-time table was judged to be proportionate and therefore is not discriminatory. So just because a child's in a part-time timetable and is entitled to a full-time education doesn't necessarily mean that they're being discriminated against. It all comes down to why they're on the part-time timetable, whether that's fair to the child at the time or whether it's limiting the child. If it would be limiting the child and the reasons why they're on it isn't fair, and that would be discrimination. But if it's to protect the child, particularly around mental health, and is a short-term means of building up relationships, looking at getting into a full-time provision, then that would be classed as proportionate and therefore would not be discrimination. So R.V. Croydon, 2015. The mother of a child with learning disabilities was unable to get him to attend school despite making significant efforts. The local authority refused to change the school named in his statement now in the HEP plan, or to provide any alternative education. The authority was found to have breached its duty under Section 19 of the Education Act 1996 to secure suitable education as no alternative plan had been put forward, and it was therefore not reasonably practical for the child to attend the named school. So the fact that the parent had done everything possible to find and get a suitable school to get the child into that school. The local authority has refused to change the name of the school. It had been deemed that the school was not suitable because the child was unable to attend no matter what the parent did. But the local authority also then failed to provide any other education. So again, they failed in their duty to provide alternative education for a child that needs it. So R versus Surrey County Council 2022, where a local authority has a duty in Section 19 of the Education Act 1996 to provide education, it must actually deliver the education, not simply attempt to do so. This is a legally enforceable duty and can be compelled by a mandatory order. So they can't just say, well, we tried to do this but it wasn't done. They must provide alternative education. It must be delivered. There's no reason, no excuses on the local authority's behalf on why it's not been done. It can't just be an attempt. It can't just that we've tried. That is deemed as not good enough.